They're Mark, Kelly, Tyler.
Whoa. And hold it all together. She's got like a lot of work to do today. It's Kawesa.
Good morning.
So I'm not going to say who took our AM transmitter out today, but let's just say it's probably the man.
Well,
The man. DA apostrophe man.
man.
Yeah. The man got the AM because this truth serum is hitting the airwaves so hard. But they left up 96.1 FM. So what's up 96.1 FM? All the social media streams are up. The app is working. And so, again, if you know people who typically listen on the AM only signal, you may want to reach out to them this morning, give them a call and tell them they got to step the game up today. And yeah, anyway, this is the Power Hour brought to you by Power Interfaith. And we're here Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. We may even, one day we might even be on a little bit longer. Might be starting at like 3 or 4 in the morning,
Oh, Lord, no.
going to 7.
Oh, Lord, no.
You not down with that, bro?
Oh, no. I want some sleep.
Oh, man. Well, it's been an interesting week and weekend. We're in a different place this Monday. Some might say the same place, but it's somewhat different. How you feeling today?
I am okay. I kind of had a quasi-mellow weekend. So,
Mm.
we had worship and stuff like that. But for the most part, doing okay. I am, just doing what I do. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Didn't get a chance to. I didn't watch the first game yesterday. I was listening to it on satellite,
Hmm.
and I just knew Green Bay was going to screw it up. I just, this is the first Super Bowl, by the way. You don't follow sports that closely,
Mm-mm.
so let me share this with you because you're gonna think this is an incredible stat.
Hmm.
But this is the very first Super Bowl of all Super Bowls. When I was born, the year of the first Super Bowl. So this is 55. So I'll be 55 this summer.
Okay.
The very first time a team is playing in their own city in the Super Bowl.
Wow. That's interesting.
Well, part of that is because they played almost half of them in New Orleans and they've always sucked. But I mean, that was like never a chance in hell they were going to go. They did win one, but as we saw last week, the Saints were just back up to their old business. They need to pull out those paper bags they used to wear when they go to the games,
Hmm.
hide their faces. But I mean, literally, it is amazing. Well, yeah, and the other games were always held in L.A. and Miami. So,
Right.
but
Sunny
it's
places.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, but Miami did. Miami had a heck of a team back, and they're the only team to ever go and have a perfect season and win the Super Bowl up to
Hmm.
this point. And so, but that game was not played in Miami. So again, it's fun fact for you. But I do want to talk about. I kind of bring that up also as a segue into what I hope we can get to today. It is still related to our overall theme that we typically kind of hit on around, how do we address racial inequities and bring about balance in this society that
Right.
just continues to put barrier after barrier up for black folk. And so a lot of that is going to be on display, through the NFL. What's up, Sheriff Bilal? Robert Garland says he can't stand Brady, but he was really good. That's what I heard. I still put this on Drew Brees and the Saints. They gave that game away last week. That was just horrible and unforgivable. But in any event, so here's the deal. First of all, you have set up now the classic rivalry, Royster.
Hmm.
You've got the young, brash black quarterback from Kansas City who
Hmm.
won the Super Bowl last year, Patrick Mahomes. Flashy, he can run. All the stereotypes are right there, right? Well, I can't remember the name of Jamie Foxx's character in Any
Oh,
Given
yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Willie something. Somebody
Yeah.
posted it for me.
Willie Beeman.
Willie Beeman. There you
Yes.
go. Right. You remember, not don't.
Yes, I do. I remember that one.
fast Willie Beeman, right? And he's going up against like the older white guy who was on his team as well, the head coach.
Right.
I mean, the quarterback, excuse me, who was kind of like the old school archetype of quarterback. You know, stay in the pocket, has to be a white guy, always relies on your arm, can't run for nothing. That's almost what you have right now between Tom Brady, who everybody is saying is the GOAT. Now, I can't stand Tom Brady. I'm still not willing to give him that moniker. But if he wins this game with the team he just joined this year against the champs, I promise you publicly next week and from here on out, I will always refer to him as the GOAT, the greatest of all time to play football. I will give it to him, but he hasn't done it yet, so I don't have to give him that yet.
Right.
But again, so you're talking about a game now that is going to pit this black quarterback against this white quarterback. In this climate that we're in, Brady, who is a Trump supporter, has been a Trump supporter, was hated universally by anybody black who didn't live in the New England states. Pretty much still is, unless you live in the New England states and Tampa, right? And you got Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid and all of what KC represents, which is almost totally antithetical to that, right? I mean, bro, I hope it's like not a race riot that breaks out as a result of this game.
Yeah. So, you know, sports is not my thing. But dealing with race is, you know, I don't like Tom Brady. Look, I went to school in New England. Everybody knows that already. I was never a Patriots fan. I always maintained my loyalty to the Eagles to the extent that I actually ever watched the Eagles game. But, you know, I think that this is going to be very interesting because this represents the divide of our country right now. In many ways, it is a direct reflection of, you know, Mahomes, the young, bright, you know, black quarterback, and Tom Brady, you know, still trying to hold on to his latter years as a, you know, white male dominating in football. So, yeah, I think this is more indicative of our future. It reminds me some years ago when Mike Tyson was fighting Evander Holyfield, and people were trying to pit it as the battle between the Christians and the Muslims, you know, in that particular time because Mike Tyson had converted to Islam. So, you know, but I do think that this is really interesting. I just wish, you know, why couldn't we hire Andy Reid back? I'm just saying, you know.
Well, I mean, so right. All right. So let me say this one quick thing, because I want to touch on that hiring, because that also, again, it seems to be so much in the NFL this week that is speaking to the issues that are in the community that we're going through. That it's timely. And did you see the letter to Hank Aaron?
No.
So there was a letter written to Hank Aaron. He shared a number of them before he died. So, you know, we talked about him being the home run leader. And I think most people generally still believe that to be the case because Barry Bonds was juiced up on all kind of steroids, allegedly. I mean, I don't know, anytime your head grows 3 times the size with no explanation is probably something. But anyway, Hank Aaron still gets that recognition. But when he was closing in on Babe Ruth's record, you know, Hank started getting, I mean, real hate mail stuff. Listen to this. This is a letter somebody wrote to him in hand. This is the actual letter. Dear Hank Aaron, retire or die, exclamation marks. The Atlanta Braves will be moving around the country and I'll move with them. You'll be in Montreal June 5th through the 7th. Will you die there? You'll be in Shea Stadium July 6th through the 8th and in Philly July 9th to 11th. Then again, you'll be in Montreal and St. Louis in August. You will die in one of those games. I'll shoot you in one of them. Will I sneak a rifle into the upper deck or a 45 in the bleachers?
Wow.
I don't know yet, but you know you will die unless you retire. You've been up 2,000 more times than Babe Ruth, and you're not half the player he was. You will not vandalize his record. See you later. Anonymous.
Wow.
Bro, that's because he was going to break a baseball record.
Yep.
Notice also the nod toward, as a black person, you don't really deserve it because you're kind of cheating. You've been up
Mm,
to bat more than Babe Ruth, and so I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you don't deserve this.
that's right.
Kind of like Kamala Harris, you don't deserve to be president because you stole it. And Barack Obama, you don't deserve to be president because you weren't really born here.
Hmm.
So we're going to continue to take away all of your achievements.
That's right.
And I mean, well, I guess I'm bringing this up because, bro, if somebody wants to shoot you dead for a home run record, that don't mean nothing to nobody except the person who holds it.
Hmm.
What do you think they want to do to somebody who is the first woman and black person and South Asian person to become vice president of the United States?
Yep. I mean, this is indicative of the manifestation of white supremacy and how it just continues to carry itself generation after generation. I think Robert Garland just put something in there. It's like no one talks about Brady's politics, but they talk about caps, right? It's like Brady's okay because he's backing Trump, white supremacist, no big deal. And they're talking specifically politics. All Hank Aaron was trying to do was play baseball, but I guess in many ways, every sport is politicized, right? The names of the sports are politicized. The mechanisms by which those sports operate is politicized. And I know we're going to talk about the Eagles' search for a head coach. I caught something a couple of weeks ago, or that was last week, when they posted this piece about they had interviewed this one black coach, and I knew that this was there because a couple of years ago the NFL changed the policy that they had to interview minority candidates for head coach. So I was like, I was watching it. I turned and said, my mother was in the room at the time. I said, this is so that they can say they interviewed somebody of color. I said, it doesn't stand a chance because the next sentence out of the broadcaster's mouth was, oh, they interviewed so-and-so, but this is their top candidate. And it was like they're trying to cover their behinds. So, this was, politics is politicized. And white supremacy just can't stand to see any black person survive and do well. I mean, it's much the same way. What was it? The Olympics that Jesse Owens was running in. In some ways, there were American coaches that wanted him to hold back because they didn't want to, overshine
Right.
Germany in Germany. So
Yeah.
it's all that insanity.
Well, I mean, yeah, and so right, so you move right into the next part of that, right, which is, again, the NFL keeps giving us, and baseball and basketball gives us all these opportunities to kind of view them as a microcosm to what happens in the rest of society. So first of all, in the NFL, there's certain places that are not supposed to be for black folk. One of the coveted places has always been the quarterback.
That's
And
right.
it's always been that the quarterback has to be cerebral, has to know the game. It has to be able to, manage it and master it. So it could never be, a Watson out of the Texans or my man in Baltimore right now, or certainly not a Patrick Mahomes. And yet, black QBs keep rising, continue to win Super Bowls. And so that hurdle has been knocked down. But it seems like one of the last vestiges, in addition to ownership, by the way, right? Yeah, I mean, but one of the last vestiges, at least on the field, is, with the coaching, the head coach in particular. And what just gets me is that in a sport that is dominated, I'm not making this up, I mean, dominated in number by African American players for the last generation or two, right? That somehow none of these players can transcend to become head coaching material. Of all the black players who come through the college ranks, who go the coaching route instead of playing in the NFL, none of them. I mean, you got to be kidding me. When I saw the hire for the Eagles, I'm like, I saw the name come across, last week, and I'm thinking, well, like, who is that? I'm thinking, obviously, this is like some assistant that they just hired. Because this can't be the coach, but it's the coach.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm like, I had to go to Wikipedia. I'm like, so who is Nick Sirianni? And I looked at his Wikipedia page. I'm like, I think my teenage daughters have like more stuff on their wiki pages, right? I mean, college coaching, Kansas. I mean, he's like, there's nothing there. He was offensive coordinator in Indianapolis recently. And Indianapolis has not made any noise. They barely made the playoffs this year, got bounced quickly, and that's it. Yet, meanwhile, over in Kansas City, there is another offensive coordinator who's killing it, Eric Bieniemy. And yet, though he took a team as the offensive coordinator, look, Kansas City, Dwayne, I know you don't watch sports, so let me help you.
Yes, help me out.
Some teams are known for their defense. Like, remember the Ray Lewis-led Baltimore Ravens. They won a Super Bowl with their defense because their offense was horrible. But that's how they won. Kansas City is absolutely known for blowing people out. They put 30-plus points up on you all the time. Ask me how I know. They're in my division as a Raider fan. I can't stand the Chiefs. But what you got to give them props is that since Andy Reid's been there, brought in Eric Bieniemy, man, the one area they don't struggle in is in offense. They just keep scoring on you over and over and over. Doesn't matter what the weather is. This is the guy who is the architect of it and who is managing that offense. And this guy is not a head coach, though he wants to be. He has applied for the open Houston Texans job. All right. So as you mentioned, the rule that's changed is called the Rooney Rule, named after the owner of the Steelers. That you would always hire, at least interview one black candidate for open coaching job. So he's been interviewed, but bro, they have also interviewed an active player, Josh McCown, who is one of the worst quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. He played for the Raiders. He played for the Eagles. He's actually played, now you're going to think this is hyperbole. He's played for almost half the NFL. You say, Mark, come on now. Okay, he's played for 12 teams.
Whoa.
That's like almost half the NFL. He's terrible. He can't stay anywhere. He's a journeyman. I guess his one, kind of, attribute is, look, I know a lot of teams. I played for a lot of them. I got everybody's plays. Maybe that's what they see in him, but he is still a player. I just want you to understand. That's like you're the assistant pastor and then tomorrow you're elected bishop.
Right.
It don't happen that way. Unless you're just a hell of a coach. And this guy is a current player, and yet he is seriously being, because they actually gave him an interview as the head coach of the Texans, alongside Eric Bieniemy, who is going to his second back-to-back Super Bowl. And so the black quarterback of the Texans at this point has said, I want out. I knew Texas was pretty bad. Remember, this is we'll talk about this side of the break, but when all the stuff with Kaepernick came loose, people were paying attention to Jerry Jones and his comments, racist comments out of Dallas. But this owner of this team was not much better. We got to take a break, but I'm just saying, I can't enjoy the sport that I love because this crap follows you even into sports. What Absolutely. Should be a great weekend just to relax and just enjoy the game, and all this stuff just comes. Man, was it James Baldwin said, is to be black and to be conscious as to what? Being a constant state of rage.
That's right.
Damn. What pill did they give in the Matrix that'll put you back to sleep? The blue
I
pill?
know. I can never remember if it was the red pill or the blue pill.
The blue pill. Whichever one. Somebody send that to me so I can enjoy the next 2 weeks of the Super Bowl mindless. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of eating the same thing day after day? Is ordering takeout starting to get a little old? If so, then give Premium Nutrition Meals a try. With Premium Nutrition Meals, you get to select new entrees each week from several different menus, all chef-crafted, freshly prepared, and delivered right to your door. Just go to PremiumNutritionMeals.com to order to earn rewards today. WURD listeners receive $10 off orders of 6 meals or more. Enter code PREMIUMWURD at checkout.
America's kids are returning to class, in school and at home. And this year, learning is especially tough on students who already struggle with poverty, emotional trauma, and other barriers.
That's where our organization, Communities in Schools, can help. For years, we've had caring adults inside schools, helping these students stay in school.
And now, we are taking our work beyond the school walls, tutoring, mentoring, and counseling students, providing resources for at-home learning,
delivering meals, providing household supplies, connecting kids with online classrooms, and using technology to maintain the one-on-one relationships we know can transform the lives of students and their families.
We are doing whatever it takes to make sure all kids have the opportunity to learn and succeed.
Communities and schools, going wherever we are needed to help those students who are most in need thrive.
To see how you can help kids succeed, visit communitiesinschools.org. That's communitiesinschools.org.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. We're jumping in with our opinions this morning on what's happening in the NFL, the National Football League, although for those that debate it like I did back in the day, the National Forensics League, which was the debate teams, and we were all part of that league. That debated. But no, today we're talking about the National Football League and dealing with the issues of race. So there's this article out of the Inquirer written by Marcus Hayes, who says this is about Deuce Staley leaving the Eagles because he got passed over for the head coaching job. And Marcus Hayes says, don't read racism into Lurie's hire. So Jeffrey Lurie, since he has owned the Eagles, has had 5 head coaches. One of them was black. And then 4 of them, the last 4, have been white. And the interesting thing about this is that he's basically making this case that Staley doesn't deserve to be the Eagles head coach, and because Lurie knows him so well, has seen him operate for Deuce Staley has been a part of the Eagles team for the last 17 out of 21 years. So he's saying that he has seen him, he has witnessed all these things. I don't understand how you can have all these black players, right? People who mastered the sport.
Right.
And you can't find a black head coach to be the head coach in a black city. I don't understand that. I'm like, maybe Jeffrey Lurie doesn't live in Philadelphia. He hasn't really taken a look at the demographics of the city. Taking a look at the demographics of his own team, for that matter. But why? First of all, Deuce Staley is a Philadelphia institution. He and Dawn, he and his sister Dawn, are Philadelphia institutions, right? One in basketball, the other one in football. Deuce has been here, has done a good job, served faithfully on the Eagles team in and out of various coaches, challenging situations. He applied to get the offensive coordinator position, didn't get it. He was the running backs coach. Here's a guy who's studied the art of football. We have, strong running backs. Why can't he be the head coach? Why can't we find somebody else black to be the head coach?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, bro, and at a time the NBA was doing better, but they're not too much better these days either. Deuce Staley, again, so let's put resumes together, since that's what when you have these conversations, what do people tell you? It's always it's about merit. Okay, so for all of our merit-based conservative friends, right? Mm-hmm. You're all about merit. So let's talk merit, right? So the merit of Nick Sirianni. What has Nick done? Well, not much. Nick has been bouncing around as assistant quarterbacks coach, quality control coach, wide receivers coach. He became the offensive coordinator for the first time 2018. Deuce Staley, on the other hand, has been promoted from where he was as running back coach to assistant head coach, which means he's kind of like the understudy.
Right.
So Doug Peterson has to go down or went down or whatever. It's, all falls on Deuce. Deuce Staley has also won a Super Bowl as a player with the Steelers, won a Super Bowl as a part of the coaching staff with the Eagles. He knows how to win. He's been on 2 Super Bowl teams, and yet he doesn't get the nod. And look, I'm like Deuce. Deuces to you, Philly. Good luck with that. I wish nothing ill on the Eagles, because you all know it's not my team, but I have no hard feelings against the Eagles because it's not my conference. I'm AFC, you're NFC, unless we meet in the Super Bowl again, and we all know how the last time we did that, how that turned out. So I have nothing to feel bad about. But I'm just simply saying that, you know, like, what does it take? In fact, you just brought something up. So let me just read this comment real quick. Greg Brinkley said, to your exact point, he had just posted, I was talking to a young brother about Brady's racism. He said Brady couldn't be racist because Brady wanted a black player on his team.
That's like a slave master saying, I want black slaves. I mean, come on now. Don't get me started about how I compare professional sports to a plantation system, right? And the way it operates. So don't get me started on that.
Craig Brinkley, why did you post that, man? Were you just trying to give me a headache this morning? I thought you was my guy. He said that Brady couldn't be racist because he wanted Antonio Brown.
Look, professional sports, right? What do you have to do to become a professional sports player, right? You play 4 years for a school, or actually you play high school, you play middle school, you do Pop Warner, you ain't getting paid for none of it, right?
Right.
You go to college.
Yep.
Colleges make millions of dollars per year off of you running around on a field showing off for them.
Yep.
Right? Then you get a chance to go to professional football. So you get drafted. First of all, they have a thing and they come out. Now, you are dressed a little nicely. They don't oil you up anymore and check your teeth in the same way they did at the slave auctions, but you get all slicked up and they put you out there and you get drafted onto a team, right? Then after you get drafted onto, you go to before that, you go to the combine. At the combine, they're out there watching you run around, see what you can lift, what you can do, how fast you are. Your scouts out there making sure they oiled you up, make sure you look nice. They check your teeth to make sure everything is good. And then they say, all right, boy, come on over here, and we're going to go ahead and draft you into the sport. And they have a big thing that they put out. And they put it on national television, and they parade you across a stage and try to look, and everybody's looking about who's going to get drafted, who's going to get them for this plantation or that plantation. And then you get to go to a team, and they sign you onto a contract, and you make millions of dollars, except your millions of dollars is pennies compared to what the owners are making, right? And then when you get dissatisfied or disgruntled with what's going on your particular team, they say to you, boy, you can't go nowhere because we own you because we got a contract. And so, boy, if you want to be able to get out of this contract, you're going to have to buy us out of this contract. The same way that you had to go ahead and buy your way out of slavery when you couldn't make any money in the first place. Come on, y'all. This is just an expensive way to keep black folk as slaves.
You need to read Harry Edwards' book and some of his research. I think you'll like it.
I probably would. I'd like Dr. Edwards, yes.
Yeah. So, but look, what else needs to be said, right? And on the one hand, I know it's just sports, but as we start off with reading that letter, that threatening letter to Hank Aaron, who, thank God for Hank Aaron, who said, retire, dude, I'm here to hit home runs. I'm here for all of this. Babe, who hit that record? He didn't get shot. Broke the record, didn't get shot. Kept hitting home runs, didn't get shot. And he retired and then died an old man. And by the way, let me just put this out here. He didn't die because of taking COVID-19 vaccine. He had the vaccine several weeks before he died. There's a rumor going out that he took it and died 4 days later. That's not true. And so, in fact, I'll be a part of a group of clergy taking the vaccine publicly to try to kind of reinforce to folk, don't be hesitant, don't be afraid. It's okay, all right? But my point, though, is that we started talking about Hammer and Hank and the way in which people attach people would want to kill you as a black person for having the nerve to break a white person's record, as though if it's all about merit, again, let's go back. So it's always about merit until it ain't, right? Just like, hey, blue lives matter until they don't. When the blue lives are in front of me now trying to get what I want, it's F the police. That wasn't NWA chanting that on the 6th. That was like a group of white people who support the police until they don't, right? So all this stuff means something until it doesn't, right? So it's just, if people take it to this level, my friend, in sports, how much more difficult is it for a black woman-owned business that has to operate off of government contracts? I won't even say the industry, but someone that I know who's in my congregation, who's amazing and who gets major contracts, but the kind of hurdles that she has to put up in a male-dominated, industry, and let alone coming in as a woman, but being black and being good at it, right? And the kind of hurdles and institutional challenges that are put in front of her. How much more so for people who are trying to rise through the ranks of the military or through academic institutions? I can't tell you the number of friends who get frustrated, who have all of the credentials, PhD, incredible curriculum vitae, everything to become college presidents, or provosts or academic deans. But again, there is this invisible glass ceiling in certain institutions, namely PWIs. And I mean, I'm just saying, if somebody want to kill you for a home run record, how much more when you put money on the table?
Right. I mean,
that's what we're facing.
That is exactly what we're facing. That's the problem we got now.
That's MAGA.
Yep.
That's MAGA in a nutshell. MAGA is that you are trying to take what is my God-given right. Mm-hmm. This is my country, though my parents just got here 2 generations ago, and yours have been here 10 generations. But this is my country. Why? Because I'm white. Huh? I can trace my family back definitively into the 1700s. You just got here, like literally came through Ellis Island, and you're telling me it's your country, not my country, because you're white? I mean, that's MAGA. What are we going to do with that?
Yeah, I mean, I always chuckle when they start talking about sending people back to Mexico. I'm like, y'all do realize the southern part of the United States was Mexico, right? I mean, you just Texas.
We're going to send you to Dallas.
Arizona, California, that was Mexico. You telling people to go back across the border, they're home. They're back where their ancestors were. I don't, that's the problem, with our educational system. It's all screwed up, right? It's propaganda that's not helping people to fully understand that, Texas and parts of California and Arizona, that was all Mexico, folks. It was Mexico. Anyway.
Yeah, well, listen. Yeah, absolutely. So how do you fix it? I see Joe Simmons' question. I mean, it really is what we talk about all the time on this show. It will not be fixed by waving a magic wand. There is no magic pill that we can take. And somebody told me just take the red and blue pill to answer my question earlier. They said, then I'll be good, right? But that it is building. It's what it has always been. And a part of it is we can't get caught up in this fantasy that we are somehow in some post-racial America where race doesn't matter anymore. I mean, it does. And I don't care what anybody tells you. And usually people who want to argue you down that it doesn't, it matters most to them, right? Yeah. And so, and gender matters. And, so listen, that this stuff matters. And so historically, our people have done best when we organize and when we build, and you have to build institutions. I mean, man, thank God for historically black colleges and universities that are on full display in these last several weeks. Raphael Warnock at Morehouse, Stacey Abrams at Spelman, Kamala Harris at Howard, just and on and on and on, where they had an opportunity to lead. I mean, Kamala Harris, I saw her being interviewed recently, and she was being interviewed. Oh, that's right. With Leslie had it planned. This was an AKA thing. Mm-hmm. And she was talking with her line sister who she pledged with. And she said her first election was like something on campus at Howard, right? To be, I think, the student rep for their class, for their freshman class, or something of that nature. But you don't get that opportunity, generally speaking, if you're Kamala and you're at Princeton or Harvard. I mean, you might, not to say that black folks.
There's different opportunities, though.
I hear you, but hear what I'm saying. Different. Hear me out. We can't try to yes, there are opportunities there, but I'm saying that every year there's going to be a black student government president at an HBCU. That's a given. Every year, there's going to be a black president of the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior class. Every year, it's leadership opportunity upon leadership opportunity where you are thrust into leadership. And so if the students rise up and do something, these are young black folk who are leading. Again, I'm not saying this can't happen in white schools. Barack Obama didn't go to an HBCU. But what I'm saying is that you get these opportunities when you build institutions of your own. And it's the same with business, that we have got to start building our own businesses again. I mean, I'm really scared for the funeral business. I don't know if you've seen this, but over the years, black funeral homes have been getting bought up by white funeral directors, and they leave the black name on and the black employees in place, but they're no longer owned by black funeral companies. They're no longer small mom and pop shops. People don't know that in these hands, these invisible hands. Have you seen that trend as well?
I've noticed that there's been some changes in some of the funeral homes, and I'm just like, I couldn't quite put a finger on what it was, but now that you mention it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Because there's not really the level of investment in those black funeral homes the way they do in white communities.
Bro, I'm telling you, it's been a thing for a while. I worked for a guy, he's passed on now, the late Reverend Donald Jordan in Cincinnati, who owned like 8 funeral homes and pastored. That was quite an experience. But Reverend Jordan was, yeah. No, go ahead.
Now, I want to respond back to what you were talking about, the black college thing. So I just think, primarily white institutions pose a different set of challenges for black students, but there are those leadership spaces in there. And, at a very early age, I think we're taught how to contend in spaces that are not black. For power and for the experience. What are you going to say? Go ahead. Let me hear what you're saying.
And I see Ron on there as well. You get that opportunity at PWIs too. It's the same, just a different mix. If you don't know, y'all listen. Stop it, okay? Just stop it, you all.
Wait, no,
You're not gonna listen. Listen to what I'm saying to you. When you walk onto a black college campus, it is not the same.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's the same.
And what I'm saying is,
I'm not implying it's the same.
The entire when you walk on, guess who your president is? A black person.
We're not always at the black colleges, and that's a recent phenomenon.
I'm talking about in the last like 75 to 80 years. Yes. Before you're talking about the 1800s, then maybe no.
I'm talking about the 1900s. Some of those those university presidents are still white.
What are you talking about?
Come on, man. It's not always been the case.
Lord Jesus. Yeah.
We gotta go to break anyway.
All right, let me just finish the thing about funeral homes, because you're like just tripping today, man. You all just don't try to defend what's indefensible. It's it ain't the same. Just acknowledge it and move on and be like, yeah, y'all got me on that one. All right. But anyway, Reverend Jordan, who owned these funeral homes, told me way back in 2000 that white funeral directors they wanted to buy his funeral homes, that they're buying black funeral homes up, and that they're leaving the staffs in place and leaving the names on the marquees, and you still think you're going to the mom and pop shop that did that for your parents and your grandparents. And what I'm saying is that now the level of ownership has gone out the community, and so it looks like there's that same investment, but it isn't. I'm telling you, it is everywhere, and we've got to fight to maintain institutions, because our institutions are the ways in which we continue to build and fight back. We got to take a quick break, and on the other side, we will continue this conversation. Wanda's with me. She said no comparison. She's from Bennett. We'll be right back.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten Staten, Executive Director of Lesset.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk media. Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Looking at the Schuylkill Expressway westbound, getting jammed up University through 30th Street through the ongoing construction eastbound side. Not bad yet. Westbound Vine Expressway, Lake Parkway through the Schuylkill Expressway. Southbound 95, jamming Common down through Bridge through that work zone. Again, Allegheny through Girard. Northbound, looking pretty good still. The Boulevard Route 1 southbound, watch for delays. 9th down through Fox, also through construction. 130 northbound, north of Market Street in Gloucester City. An accident there still being worked on. Looking for an easier way to find your next call center or accounting job. It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Visit ExpressPros.com to find one of more than 830 locations to support any job search, and there is never a fee. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
Now, a Word weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
A cold start this morning, but we'll get a bit of sunshine before the clouds take over this afternoon to warm temperatures into the middle 30s by lunchtime and a high of 40 degrees today. Cloudy late this afternoon and tonight. Overnight tonight, a light wintry mix enters the area, changing over to rain during the day on Tuesday. 32 in the morning, 38 in the afternoon Tuesday. Then it's mostly cloudy and not quite as cold Wednesday. After a morning low of 34, 44 Wednesday afternoon. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley with your most accurate forecast. Count on it.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're continuing our ongoing debate about leadership opportunities and responsibilities of students at HBCUs versus PWIs. First of all, let me just say that, there are differences between HBCUs and primarily white institutions. I get it. Nobody is saying that there aren't differences. However, there are leadership opportunities and spaces for students to be able to grow and to be able to expand and to test their own abilities. We did have black student unions on our college campuses and the PW white institutions. We were members of the Student Government Association at those colleges and those institutions. We did have our Greek letter organizations that were great bastions of opportunity. We did have the NAACP chapter that was on campus at the same time. We actually created our own organizations. If you want to check something out, go to Google, type in Talented 10th, and then type in Boston College. You will discover that there were those of us up there that were following W.B. Du Bois, and we started a group called the Talented 10th that adopted schools in Roxbury section of Massachusetts, concentrated on the 4th grade, long before Michelle Alexander and anybody else was talking about 4th grade being pivotal. We were following Jawanza Kunjufu and understanding that it was going to make a difference there. We invested time and space into that. There are leadership opportunities that can be created. I had black professors. I had black teaching assistants. I dealt with black PhD students as well as black PhDs and black administrators. So, that might not be the experience of every primarily white institution, but there are spaces for us to grow and to learn in those institutions as well. Like I said, it's not the same. The band sucked. The marching band was terrible. Did not deeply appreciate that. You know what? Did not like the keggers, that they had on campus, right? The social scene was not exactly the same. But the students from Boston College and the students from Harvard and the students from MIT and the students from Boston University and the students from Northeastern, all the black students would get together and we would rotate around the various schools and have our parties and celebrations. And we used the money that we often got. I know when we used to throw the parties at BC, I would do them with the NAACP and the Black Student Union, and we used that money to bring Dr. Manning Maribel to Boston College to give a lecture. Students bringing Manning Maribel to the college, right? We brought Frances Cress Welsling to Boston College to give a lecture. We brought Malcolm X's eldest daughter to the college to give a lecture, right? This was students, so we were initiating our own learning and opportunity, and we didn't have to depend on the university to do it because we did it ourselves. That was black excellence, brother.
Methinkest thou protesteth too much?
I'm just saying, no, man, don't be knocking the experience of a whole lot of us.
What I'm saying to you is this. No, see, again, putting words in my mouth. I never said that you can't become a leader by going to a white college. I mean, W.E.B. Du Bois, PhD, Harvard. And I mean, but then he then took it to HBCUs because they wouldn't let him teach in places like Harvard, right? So he went to AU, went to Wilberforce. But my point, though, is that, yes, you can have that everywhere. But you just can't compare the two. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's, bro, when you walk on a black college campus, it's not just like you have a BSU. The whole campus is a BSU. Everything about the place says to you that, the one thing we're not going to knock you for in this place is being black. You don't have to worry about that in your class. You don't have to worry about that in your social setting. It could be a whole lot of other things as well, but it's not that. And it is a leadership training area unlike any other. It just is, because you get those kind of opportunities that are not just simply the opportunities that you lift up, but it is in the culture. It's in the air that you breathe. It's literally in everything from the moment you walk on that campus and when you get ready to leave. And it sticks with you forever. I mean, the alumni piece is just like a whole family. Now, Kenrick makes a point on social. He says that too many HBCU boards are conservative and support accordingly. And this also ties into another question that someone asked as well, going back to the funeral home piece. Joe Simmons, who says, Rev, sounds like black funeral directors are the ultimate sellouts. So let me kind of try to weave those two things together, because a lot of folk would say black college boards are the same. So it always comes down to money, right? And resources. So white America has a lot more money than black America, because when you start off with slavery and you're getting most of your money for free, right? To your earlier point about, sports, so that when you start off at a major advantage, and when the Civil War is over, you pay the rebels for their loss of property, but you don't pay the enslaved for their loss of labor. Again, you're not talking about two equals, not equal in how God created you, equal in the sense of resources. So black colleges were started off with very few resources, like black churches, like black funeral homes, like black barbershops, like black anything that you start with. Some were able to overcome it quickly and do well. You got Howard, you got Hampton, Morehouse, Spelman, to a degree now, kind of Clark-ish, but most have always gone from paycheck to paycheck, just like what? Black churches. So when I look at them, black funeral directors, for example, a lot of them sell because the other part of this story is that the casket makers and all the people that supply the funeral industry, these are white companies, and put a squeeze on black funeral homes. So when y'all go in and you get upset because you're like, I can't believe they want $10,000 to bury my loved one. That's a ripoff. Well, it may seem like that, but there's so much cost in what it takes to actually perform the burial, right? And those prices are already set. So for a company to even stay in business, it is so expensive that now you have these haves and have-nots. And so a lot of these folk, man, they've tried and they've taken over from their parents, and it is a struggle, and they just are tired of the struggle. Somebody comes in and says, hey, you know what? I'll let you stay in business. I'll pay your bills, and I'll pay you for being here. Just leave the name on the marquee. And they're like, heck yeah. I mean, we could call it a sellout, or we could maybe just kind of just say, well, it's business, and I mean, it's tough. That's where black colleges are. So boards tend to be conservative. When I was at Clark, guess who was our biggest funder?
Who was that?
Coca-Cola. Our board chair was Carl Ware, who was the highest ranking black man in Coca-Cola. But guess what Coca-Cola was also doing in 1987? Investing heavily in South Africa and not divesting. So of course, as students, we protested hard against Coca-Cola, and you could imagine the board looking like, wait, that's the hand that feeds you, you're biting it. We're like, yeah, well, what the hell do we care? Get out of South Africa, let Nelson Mandela go, and end apartheid. Could you imagine the kind of panic that a board has, is trying to keep Delta and Coca-Cola happy, to keep the lights turned on, and yet has to be accountable to the student body that's saying, but that's antithetical to who we are and who you're telling us we should be. And so these boards, because Michael Jackson ain't cutting you a check, Oprah wasn't cutting you that kind of check, Michael Jordan wasn't cutting you that kind of check. So what do? You go with what's in front of you until you can build institutions your own, which is why I keep coming back to the same thing. Build, 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 brother, build. Leon Sullivan said it then. I say it now. That's what you got to do.
You just reminded me of that scene in School Days, Spike Lee's School Days, where the president is talking to the board chair, and they're up in the room, and they're talking about who funds black colleges and universities. And they were talking about the various types of schools and who was funding them and the struggle of the HBCU. So let me just say.
Can I say one thing about that real quick before you move on? That scene was filmed on Clark's campus.
Oh, was it? Okay.
That was our building.
Well, was that taken off of the fact that you are, because the beginning of the movie is based on the fact that there was a fight about South Africa and about apartheid.
That was real. That was the true mix of what was going on campus during that era. Absolutely fact.
All right. Well, you learn something new every day. So that was Clark's campus that was being used in the movie School Days by Spike Lee. It was I watched that movie incessantly before I pledged. So anyway, that was the thing that I did. And my pledging experience was nothing like that. It was far worse. So anyway, all right, everybody. Well, listen, we are about out of time today. This is a great conversation. Appreciate it. Loving the debate. One of the things I think is important for us to understand that Black life is not monolithic, and that it is parsed out by very many different things. But each part is important for us if we're going to be able to build Black community. We've got to find ways to come together across our various differences and experiences to be able to use them so that we can all begin to thrive and to live our full best lives in this world. So thank you to the HBCUs, thank you to the PWIs, thank you to all the folk that continue to move forward every single day, despite the fact that sometimes it feels like the world is coming against us. You've been listening to Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler, Dwayne David Royster. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to bring you the latest news happenings around Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions. Please stay tuned for Wake Up with Word with Solomon Jones, and do us a favor. Black family, get out there, change the damn world, because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace. Thank you, Kwesa, for everything you do. Peace.